Welcome, everyone, to Couch Potatoes and Sports Tragics again. Jetsetter Jordan.
Welcome. Yes. Sportzologist, what's going on?
Oh, well, not a lot at the moment, mate.
Apart from being freaking cold. But you'd be used to that coming from Canberra, wouldn't you? This one sort of, heat wave. I suppose you're not in board shorts.
Yeah, this isn't really cold weather at all.
No.
You can't call it cold. Even though, Canberra at the moment, it is -2, I did say, and it got to 9.
I'd say I always love it because I always tell who's from Canberra or who's from Victoria or something up this way, because at this time of year they're running around in shorts trying to find out what the best beach is. So, because, our low is their high.
Absolutely. Now, look, James Anderson, he retired, or he was actually pushed into retirement by the English. He was going to keep going. They brought him out at Lords in his last Test match in a wheelchair, and
well, you can't say he didn't do one bowl too many, do you? Because he did take out the big mantle.
The what? Sorry,
he did take out the big mantle, didn't he? For a number of wickets.
Well, 704. Test wickets.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't quite get there to Warnie's 708, and that's a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't have heard it, it was bad enough, the Poms talking about him being the greatest fast bowler of all time.
Oh, God.
But he played...
oh, wow.
He played 188 Test matches over 21 years. Now, that's a great effort for... Now, I don't really call him a fast bowler. I sort of say I'm going to put him in the category of a bowler who bowled off at least 10 paces.
Actually, you've raised something there. Like, how do you categorise? Because there's fast bowler. I mean, is any bowler a fast bowler? Well, no, you got medium pace. You got slow, medium,
you got fast, medium.
Yeah.
Like the Glenn McGraths of the world were probably in the fast medium. They got up to 130, 135.
You've got your swing bowlers, of course.
Yeah, and that's what James Anderson was. He was a swing bowler, and he was very, very good at it when the conditions suited. He was probably one of the greatest swing bowler of all time. But to say that he's the greatest fast bowler, I'm thinking that he's sitting way down the list there.
He's ruffling some proverbial cricket feathers, isn't he?
The Poms do have to clutch at any straw they can for, they're still spewing over their last Ashes when they said that the rain, saved Australia.
How much bloody more pity party do these guys need? Seriously?
We just have to give them some more salt, I think, because they're getting very salty. That's for sure.
Takes responsibility, boys.
Absolutely. But look, I even raised the point that, I don't even think James Anderson is the greatest English bowler of all time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. Because well, you're about to say it, but I reckon that, as you were saying, it doesn't matter how many wickets. When we were saying, 50 years ago, you're playing half the tests. I mean, it's still an admirable effort, how many tests he's played, and to achieve that. It's pretty good. But is that the benchmark number of wickets? I mean, it's certainly outstanding. But
for sure.
I don't know. I think there's better, strike rate, averages. There's a whole range of things, really.
Absolutely. And probably, as I said, longevity isn't the requirement for greatness. And well done for playing for the last 21 years.
Well, it was England too. Anyone else would have been gone 10 years ago, wouldn't you?
For sure. Well, exactly.
I am joking. I'm not taking anything away from anyone who can make it to that level, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, he how many maybe young bowlers did he hold back, and guys who didn't get a chance to play Test cricket? Well, look at the recent Test match. Gus Atkinson debuted for England at Lords and took 12 wickets on debut.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and his place only really came up because Stuart Broad retired last year.
Yeah, okay.
So, they're
another big name.
Yeah, exactly. He ended up with over, I think, 600 wickets as well, I think. But look, Fred Truman, way back in the 50s and 60s, he was one of the quickest bowlers of all time.
Yep.
He did hold the world Test record for quite a while till Lance Gibbs from the West Indies overtook it in the 70s. But, Fred took 307 Test wickets, and he was a very fast bowler. He had a strike rate of 49.43, which is one of the all-time great strike rates, and an average of 21.57 per wicket. So that's outstanding. So
it is outstanding.
It is outstanding. And even the great Frank Tyson from around about the same era, he was up there in those stats. And I think we did look at stats.
We looked at a few.
But I mean,
and the fastest balls and all that kind of thing.
Exactly.
As you know, we start talking and then we start looking at all these other interesting stuff.
Yeah, but look, I rate, obviously, my top two bowlers fast bowlers of all time, and I think I have said this in some of the previous podcasts, DK Lilly and Wasim Akram.
Yep.
Two of the greatest bowlers I've seen. Lilly started off as an out-and-out quick, and then had a stress fracture of the back and was out of the game for nearly 18 months. And, they really didn't think he was even going to be able to probably walk properly.
Yeah.
But he made the comeback of comebacks in the 74-75 series, where another fast bowler debuted, and that was Jeff Thompson, who I would rate probably the quickest bowler of all time. They never had the speed guns back then that they have now. But
I remember watching a test there, and I don't know how or what they're thinking, but I'm pretty sure they said he went over 100 miles an hour.
Oh,
that's
for sure.
like 160 or something like that.
Yeah, look, he was frightening in a
because the record is 160.
161, I think. Shoaib Akhtar has that's the quickest recorded, exactly. I mean, even Sean Tate, the wild thing, he was up there in 160, 161, and Brett Lee too as well.
And when did they start recording from?
Well, the technology, I think, has only been around for 20 odd years.
So it doesn't mean anything, really.
It wasn't reliable at all back in the 70s and 80s when Thompson and Lilly were playing. And of course, you had the West Indies cartel of bowlers. As well.
Well, I know. Well, I think that era when I was, I was
the
quite
80s.
young, 80s and 90s, 70s. I still remember all that kind of thing growing up in cricket, and that was a golden era.
Absolutely,
like the West Indies for a start. I mean, you got Marshall. Just to start, Big Bird Garner. I remember he's not
Andy
quick,
Roberts.
but Andy Roberts.
Colin Croft.
I remember his pace.
Patrick Patterson. Now, Patrick Patterson didn't play a lot of tests. He really struggled to get a spot in that big cartel with all the names, as we just mentioned, Roberts, Croft, Garner, and that. But I did read an article by the West Indian wicketkeeper from that era, Geoffrey Dujon, and he was the wicketkeeper during that period.
Yeah,
and
there was a couple.
Yeah, well, he rated Patrick Patterson was the one who hit his gloves the hardest.
That's saying something with that lineup.
Absolutely. He was the quickest, but he wasn't necessarily the best, but he said he was the quickest. And Curtly Ambrose.
When we're talking about all these names, we're talking about the greatest bowler of all time, but for another time, I think we should talk about the greatest team time. That'll be pretty. That'll raise a few eyebrows. Talking about that West Indies team from the 70s, 80s.
Well, the Invincibles from 1948 for Australia.
True.
Great side. But look, that West Indies side did dominate world cricket for 15 years.
Yeah, incredible.
It was a long, long time. And that was all mainly due to some exciting batsmen and, as we said, a bowling cartel to die for. Basically, a four-man. Batting sides never got a bit of rest at all from fast bowlers. Many times they didn't play a spinner at all. They didn't have to.
I don't know what this thing's doing. But I'm looking at Malcolm Marshall, that stats. Career 78 to 91, 81 tests, 376 wickets, average of 20.94, strike rate 46.7, 5 wicket hauls 22. But he had I don't know, I'll see if they're all doing this, but they got this 5 year. So for 1984 to 98, 84 to 88, he took in 38 tests, he took 212 wickets, which looks like 60% of them. Average of 19.17, strike rate of 43.2, and on it goes.
Well, that's every 7 overs he's taking a wicket, and he's less than 20. Now, you've got to remember too that I think Malcolm Marshall is rated the best West Indies bowler from that era. Everyone rates him above all those other guys. The thing is,
Michael Holding.
Yeah, Whispering Death, Michael Holding, the beautiful run-up. But the thing is, with that cartel of bowlers and those quality of bowlers, you were fighting for wickets against all those other bowlers.
It's true.
You've only got 10 wickets to take in an innings or 20 in a match, and, you're fighting against 3 of the best fast bowlers in the world to get those wickets.
Yeah, they're all pinching votes off, or not, saying footy, for the medals, you're pinching votes off each other, aren't you?
Absolutely.
In a champion team.
So you've got to look at that, and where James Anderson, probably only Stuart Broad was the only one he was fighting for wickets. Look at Shane Warne. Shane Warne didn't even get the ball sometimes for 20 overs or 30 overs.
Yeah,
McGrath and Gillespie and Brett Lee all took the first bite at the wickets. So for Shane Warne to have the strike rate that he did is incredible, where he was second or third choice, or even longer than that. And Nathan Lyon for his nearly four wickets a test match, for him, a spinner to get those, they're fighting for wickets against the quicks.
Yeah, exactly. And Test still does that format, really, compared to 2020 or something like that, where they'll bring on spinners a hell of a lot faster.
Oh, of course. And, and you each get 4 overs. Yeah. 5 bowlers get 4 overs, where if it's a green top, well, a spinner might not even bowl at all. Yeah. So you'd think that the greatest wicket-taking thing would be dominated by fast bowlers, but obviously it isn't. Matthias Muralduran, 800 wickets. Was he a bowler? Shane Warne, 708 wickets. I believe he's the greatest bowler I've ever seen. Because he mastered an art which is extremely difficult to master, leg spin bowling. And of course then you've got Jimmy Anderson on 704, but is he the greatest fast bowler of all time? We're debunking that.
We are
for sure.
Well, I might throw another name into the ring, which is Richard Hadley, or Sir Richard Hadley.
Absolutely.
So he was a bit of a champion, on NZ legend.
Yeah. There's the opposite there. See, Hadley really had no one to fight for wickets in that New Zealand side.
Well, he was captain, wasn't he?
He was captain, but he was the dominant.
I'm still bowling.
Well, he was the dominant bowler, but there was no real other wicket taker in that New Zealand side, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so for all those West Indian guys to have little big hauls of wickets. Another name to talk about is obviously Dale Steyn from South Africa. And
I just found him on the stats.
Yeah, he's got great stats. He really does. Even our Pat Cummins now, so he's up there with his strike rate.
Yeah, 22.95 average, 42.3 strike rate, so 93 tests, 439.
So those stats you were just rattling off, that was Dale Steyn?
That was Steyn.
Yep.
It said 93. This side I found has like their purple patch, or their best 5-year patch.
Okay.
As well as their overall. So, so it's pretty good anyway. 93 tests, 439 wickets, 124. Glenn McGrath, 124 tests, 563 wickets, 21.64. Another great player.
Well, look, just talking about South Africans there.
Imran Khan.
Well, what was his stats?
So 88 tests, 362 wickets, 22.81, average strike rate 57. But once again, his purple patch of 82 to 86, 24 tests, 138 wickets, average of 14.31. Yeah, and 39.1 strike rate. Bloody, jeez, hard to beat that. Very hard. But what we were saying before about Anderson having the most wickets, but what did you say, 181 tests?
188. That last one might have been his 109.
Because these guys, like Sydney Barnes, 27. That's all he had. And 81 for Marshall and 86.
Well, even though I'm just looking there at Allen, he played 30 wicket, 2 strike it out at 47. So all these guys, high strike rate. So, as I said, look, I rate DK Lilly as the great fast bowler I've seen, closely followed by Wasim Akram. Akram on his day was quick and swung the ball both ways, a savage bouncer. The West Indian cartels, you name a dozen of the West Indians in there. And, of course, the great Jeff Thompson, who I believe had the quickest sufficient then.
He had a real action, didn't he? I remember he's like sort of a wide arm, wasn't it?
It was like throwing a javelin.
Yeah, he was. He just came through really with that big.
He was a javelin thrower, athletics, and he had that style, and it was a real slingy action. And for probably 2 years, he was the quickest thing that's ever been around. It wasn't till I think he had that little incident where he bumped into Alan Thompson when they both went for a catch. I think it was 77, and they collided and he did his shoulder. Or did he do it? And he did his shoulder playing tennis as well on a rest day in one of the series as well. And he really wasn't the same bowler after that, but he did go on to another. He wasn't
quite the same.
For 2 years, he was the quickest thing. You asked, and the West, he decimated the Poms in 74, 70, Lily, Walker. And 75, 76, that was that young West Indian side came, led by Clive Lloyd, and they decimated them as well, 5-1. To say that James Anderson is the greatest fast bowler of all time.
I don't think anyone's convinced.
Yeah, we'd like to hear your comments on that one. Who you think is the greatest fast bowler of all time? We've sort of pressed our points. Name named a few stats.
Yep.
Love to hear from anyone out there, and we might wind this one up and see how we go.
Yeah.
It's a good night for me.
Good night.
Good night.
Goodbye. Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. Hurrah.